Well, praise God for technology. I'm sitting in my office here, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, using my computer webcam to get a short video out to you and show you some pictures from my trip to Burundi a couple weeks ago. And last week I was in Washington, D.C., meeting with Dr. Clyde Rivers, who is the ambassador at large to the nation of Burundi, as well as Dr. Albert Netascari, who is the chief protocol to the president of Burundi. The door that's open to us is just absolutely amazing. And I started going to Burundi literally 21 years ago in 1994. I'll show you a couple of pictures here. We were the first ministry ever to go into United Nations refugee camps, and amazing what God did there. But I also had an office there for a number of years. What's amazing is what God told me to do back then is exactly what we're doing now through a whole new channel of connections. But we literally worked at, I'd go there every 3 or 4 months, do conferences and train pastors. And then I had a couple that lived there, Ed and Teresa Osborne, that literally would duplicate the videos, circle them around the country. And what we did there in the 90s is exactly what God's giving us opportunity to do now at a national level, from the president's office all the way down to the remotest villages, as you're going to see here. But literally, the country had civil war from 1994 to 2004. And then when the current president ran for office in 2004, he said, if you elect me, we're no longer going to be Hutus and Tutsis, the fighting tribes, but Burundians. And we're going to adopt the Bible as our constitution. And literally what God has done over the last 10 years under his leadership is just absolutely amazing. Prior 50 years ago, going back 50 years ago when they became independent, for 40 years, I built like 1,900 schools. And in the last 10 years, the president has built 2,800 schools. And now we have opportunity to help fill those schools with the spiritual and the vocational and educational training. Just an amazing opportunity. I was also, I'm going to show you some pictures here of a school that's being built that's very strategic to the president of the nation. And I believe we're going to help them complete the school through some humanitarian projects and different grants that we're believing God for to advance the ministry there and the opportunity there. The president has been in office 10 years. Great things have happened. He has one more term. He's going to be reelected by faith this summer. He looks pretty certain. I think the last election he won with 91% approval. And again, God is just totally transforming the nation. But his goal is, because about 70% of the nation right now is under 25, actually probably under 21. But there's a great opportunity and need to train young people in the principles and precepts of God, as well as other basics from hygiene to vocational training. And that's the opportunity that God's given us to come in and disciple, train, and educate. And I'm going to show you some pictures here of a school that's being built. We're believing that they're believing that I'm going to be able to help them facilitate developing this into a media center, where from here people will be trained, but everything will be recorded and then distributed either by internet or by recorded media. So literally over the next 5 years, we can see the entire nation educated and discipled for the glory of God. So I could go on and on. I'm going to jump off the video here, show you a couple slides and some video and some pictures. And let me again just say thank you for your support. And I'll just be doing some narrating so you can watch the pictures. And I just, again, can't say thank you enough for your help in supporting the ministry. We've got much to do here in the next coming months. And I'm really believing God to speak to more people. And you can agree with me in prayer that he'll do that until we're able to get some balls moving, some things moving with foundation grants and humanitarian need. We're just believing God to speak to people's hearts. So as he's spoken to you and you've helped, thank you. And let's see what God's doing here now. God bless. Here you can see where the ministry started in 1994 in the midst of the Rwanda genocide. We were the first ministry ever, United Nations had given permission to actually do ministry work right on UN territory. The space they gave us was enough for about 10,000 people. 25,000 people came, and you can see people hanging in the trees as they would come early to get a good place to hang. Here you see me posing with David Nahurutsi with some of the refugees from Rwanda. You might remember David was a man that was tragically killed in a plane crash. Here you see me handing out candy at an orphanage to some children in one of the Burundi orphanages. When we did the ministry in the refugee camps, many of the people there were pastors. We took along hundreds of Bibles, and here I'm handing out those Bibles to pastors. Based on the success of the ministry in the camps, David had asked me to open up an office there in Burundi, which we did. Here you see the basic strategy we employed here as I was doing conferences, going there every 3 or 4 months, training thousands and thousands of pastors, and every conference was videotaped, recorded, duplicated, and circulated around the nation, which is exactly what we're endeavoring to do with a more sophisticated approach today. Well, this new chapter started with an appointment I received by Dr. Clyde Rivers, who's the ambassador at large to Burundi, appointing me as a spiritual and economic advisor to the nation of Burundi. Here you can see Dr. Clyde Rivers, along with Dr. Albert Nasagari and his wife Blessing, in front of the Capitol, where we met last week for some strategic meetings during the National Prayer Breakfast. And it's amazing because the entire world is looking at what God is doing in this nation. This is the cover of a report that outlines our initiative in Burundi, and we're calling it Be Seen. That's with an extra E, B-S-E-E-E-N, and it stands for Biblically, Spiritually, and Economically Establishing and Enriching a Nation. Notice on the map the smallness of the country. It is one of the smallest countries in the world and considered to be one of the poorest as well. I'll share a little bit more on that in a moment. Here you can see the country from Google Earth. This is the country outlined in yellow, and then zooming in we can see the capital city of Bujumbura. What you're seeing here is actual picture of the city as I'm driving up north with an entourage, a film crew, with Dr. Albert, going to a strategic school. So we're looking at the city from a distance. We're going to be looking at the beautiful countryside here as we're leaving the city, going up a mountain. So just enjoy here the beauty of the country. You can see it's lush, it's beautiful, it's very picturesque, and right on the equator. The temperature there is like perfect all the time, like 75, 80 degrees. As we're going up the mountain, it's going to get a little bit cooler. We're going up to a very strategic location, which is a school that is going to be the epicenter of training. It's a very unique project, and we've been invited to come in and be part of it for literally training the nation. We'll get there in a moment and show you those pictures. So just isn't it beautiful? It's just so lush. Well, we've reached our destination here. Most of the way up the mountain we're going to walk up by foot. But first I wanted to highlight the school that we're going to visit in a minute that's being built. And we get a part of helping to finish this school and see it used as a strategic training center. But first, let's do a little video and kind of show you the beautiful countryside on the mountain. Similar. The sand piles you see there are for future construction of a road. We're going to be walking by foot up to the upper part of the mountain. And this is where ultimately we're going to be a part of helping to build a beautiful retreat conference center that people are going to come from around the world to experience God. I had a real prophetic vision while there of seeing people having real amazing divine encounters with God as they come here. Well, we're going to journey up the mountain here and pause for a picture of yours truly. As we're going up, a couple of the village girls are following us here. You can notice the fancy footwear that they're wearing. Just they're really precious children. But you'll notice in the majority of the people here, the tribal people anyway, that their clothes are rather tattered, and their majority don't have any shoes. Here we're looking at a picture of the film crew that's traveling with us. Dr. Albert is working on this video project because the school that we're about to tour here shortly is again a very strategic school, and it's being presented as that, so they're developing a video to promote it. And here we're posing with a bunch of the local people. Here we see Dr. Albert doing a prophetic act of building a house out of rocks as a point of reference to a house he's intending to build here. And again, I really believe with Dr. Albert, we're going to see on this mountaintop a great ministry retreat center, a place for people to come and experience God. And let's go down now and look at the school. Well, you'll notice here the workers, again, rather crude equipment, as well as many of them, as you'll see, are lacking shoes or even decent clothing. But industrious they are, and working very hard with very crude equipment. You notice the ladders. I don't think they pass OSHA approval, but this is where God's giving us an opportunity for a project to help complete this school, and the actual building of the school will be done in the next few months. But then it needs to be staffed, and we're believing to not only help them with that and supplies, but also develop a media center here where training can be done. Key people will be sent here, but everything will be recorded. And again, it'll be a spiritual curriculum, educational, vocational, as well as basic things like hygiene and animal husbandry. Just really important things, you know. It might be about agriculture, different types of economic development projects. Point is, we're able to bring in a quality staff in one place, have them train the people. Everything that's done is recorded and disseminated through various types of technology, whether it's DVD or just other types of media. But we can literally train an entire nation very quickly with technology and resources God is supplying now in the basic foundation stage through our partners and those that have a heart to help, and ultimately through humanitarian projects, which we're going to be working on here in the upcoming months. Well, this is kind of a fun clip here. Actually, what has happened in the last 10 years is the government has really improved so many of the roads. It's just amazing how much has been done in 10 years' time. But some of the roads still need help, and this is a section we traveled on here that was a little bit rugged. Just for fun here, show you a little bit of our travels here through a rather difficult area. We actually got out of the vehicle thinking if it got stuck, we didn't want to be stuck in the middle of this. So we walked, and all three of the vehicles made it through just fine. That were part of our entourage. Well, before heading back to the city, we were treated to lunch with Albert and some of his family. His mom made a great meal. As you can see here, we're sharing it together. Interesting how their culture, they'll have 3 or 4 people literally share off of one plate. After dinner, we went out and took some pictures. Got a great picture here of Albert and his mom, and then another picture of our group. Dr. Albert showed us his mother cow and the 3 calves that the cow has given, and teaches people by example, believing everybody should have some type of a business in animal husbandry, gardening, farming, so forth. And here's a rare treat in hearing Dr. Albert talk cow. Here we see Dr. Albert explaining to the local people his plan for the school and his plan for doing community development. Too much to get into here, but just an amazing plan that he's introducing to develop the country. And it's just very exciting, and as you can see here, the people are very excited. Now that you just enjoy their excitement and a little bit of Burundi culture. Well, as we're on the home stretch here, we're literally in Dr. Albert's home, and there's a picture of he and his wife Blessing and their 4 children. And here we see Dr. Albert and a protege of his, Billy, teaching at a technology center. Billy has done exactly what Dr. Albert has suggested. In Burundi standards, he's a millionaire, as he's built a very large farming business by starting with 1 cow. It's an amazing success. This is what we want to do. We want to replicate these kind of technology centers and replicate Billy's kind of success. With your help, we can do it. And all we have to do is educate, train, and develop the people, and to let God do the work. Amen. Speaking of God doing the work, here we are at what's called Jabi Church. It's actually Living Church of Jesus Christ. It's a church I started going to 20 years ago. At that time, it was 500 people. Now it's 5,000 people. And when I was there a few weeks ago, they literally streamed the broadcast around the world. But they have churches in Bujumbura, Burundi, as well as Rwanda, Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Senegal. Well, this is going to wrap up the report for this trip. Thank you so very much for your prayers. Thank you so very much for your financial support of the ministry. And I thank you for whatever else God may have you to do over these next few months, which are really critical for us in laying the foundation, establishing the plan, and going after the grants that are available to accomplish the objective. With God's help, your prayers, and your support, we're going to do it, and together we're going to see a vision of over 100 million souls saved, discipled, and serving God. Thank you for your help. God bless.
You have such a landscape in USA?
Similar.